Well, hey, we're live once again. This time I put on the microphone, so you should be able to hear me clearly from the off. Last time it took me 10 minutes to get that correct, which is, not ideal, but it's part of the parcel. Wasn't too bad. Cool. So we're back again with another market closing live stream using Edgeful platform. This is obviously TradingView. Edgeful is here. First off, how are we doing? That's going to be it's been a pretty tricky market in the last few days. I haven't really traded much at all in the last couple of weeks, really. I have on and off, but nothing too, explosive or anything like that. I've just been managing trades. Unfortunately, I've lost a few where stop loss has been triggered, but that's kind of where we are at the moment in the market. You see price action like this when the SPY breaks down. This is the 4-hour chart that you're looking at. You see price action like this, you expect other stocks to follow, especially the bigger ones as well. We do have just kind of a broader market analysis here for SPY while we're here. We do have lots of volume at this level. It looks like it's trying to hold, but it's just, I think the market sentiment is just giving a little bit more bearish now. So we could be heading towards this kind of 624 level of volume, but the actual base of that would be about 620. So you're kind of looking around that area, about 624 to 620. But yeah, I want to know what you're trading, how it's been for you. Just explained how it's been for me. Stop losses have been triggered, and I'm not really trading too much. Just want to see. I mean, August is always a tricky month. We've said that before on the channel and various other areas as well. But and then September is not that much better, in fact. So could be in for another 6 weeks of this potential kind of choppy action. So just be careful out there when you're trading. I know I'm just trying to take a little step back. I mean, some of my stocks are doing quite well. I mean, NIO is doing pretty well, which is actually quite refreshing, especially when the market's going down. It's nice to see one of your biggest assets kind of going up. I'm sure there's a few people on my channel that kind of follow NIO as well. They're probably quite excited about the current price action that we're seeing. I won't dive into the chart too much today because it's not really what it's about. But SPY, yeah, we can see kind of holding onto the 50 moving average there. Qs also on the 4-hour chart. Not too sure why I've got the 4-hour chart up. It just kind of happened. So this is the daily chart now for the Qs. We drew a trend-based Fibonacci last week or week before. Looks like obviously it didn't really hit it perfectly, but they never do. Looks like it's kind of acted as a bit of resistance here and kind of coming off of that. So there could be more pain to come. And of course, we've got NVIDIA earnings coming next Wednesday, which is about 6 days from now. So that'd be interesting to see if that can, accelerate the stock market even further up in the right direction. Although, if it goes the other way, you're probably likely to see 520 at least for the Qs. I mean, that represents a bit of a fall of 5%, which is completely normal. In fact, it's kind of expected in markets at the moment. So, yeah, do us a favor if you are watching this on X, especially, do kind of repost the stream. I think it's important that a lot of people kind of check out what the markets are, see what people are thinking, not just me, obviously, but other people as well. So feel free to comment, share. Do appreciate that. In fact, do I have one of those banner things I can put up for that? Yeah, I do. Wow. Share the stream. Wow, that's big. It's bigger than me. So yeah, do that. That's good. Yeah, so let's jump into Edgeful. Let's see what the kind of general thing is. I'm sure we've got a few watchers now, which is good. We get the chat back up, so we can kind of keep tabs on that. Right, sweet. No, hang on, that's the studio chat. One more comments. There we are. Perfect. Cool. So today I'm currently on the gap fill bits here. So we go to what's in play. It's kind of the generic tab here. In fact, probably let's go for the screener first and see what the sentiment is. They've got this new thing on the screen here, overall daily bias. And you can see just by looking at, you can customize your layout here. You can have like SPY, QQQ, NVIDIA, Tesla. I haven't done it yet because I think they just changed it a couple of days ago. So I haven't had a chance to jump on it. But you can see out of the assets that we've got highlighted here, 10 out of 12 of them are actually bullish. So today's bias is actually green. which kind of makes sense because if we go back to the chart here, what we'll do is we'll get up the Edgefall night as well. Save that quickly. So this is the preset that I use for my Edgefall trading in the evenings. I typically use the power hour breakout report and power hour continuation. Not so much in play today, unfortunately, just because of where the stock market is. Today's high is up here, as you can see, and the low is down here, represented by that blue line. There is a blue line there as well, but it's just behind that white line. So the data is, we're kind of smack bang in the middle. So the data is not really going to play in my favor in terms of a trade, unfortunately, tonight. So, but I'll still walk through my kind of thesis and kind of what I do for the trading, of course. What was I talking about before that? Yeah, so the sentiment today is actually bullish, which is mental because we're flat. I'm guessing it's because of all of these other assets as well. So we've got ES, NQ, YM, RTY. So if I was to reselect them by hitting customize, I guess. No, that's the gap fill. Okay, well, I don't know where you do that. But, you know, if you, hang on, ticker here, what's that? Contain, yeah, so you can add and take away, I guess, from there. And the more you change, I'm guessing if you change it to more kind of tech-related stocks, the more it would be kind of more balanced maybe. So maybe kind of 50-50, should we say, something like that. Oh, here we go, 4 tickers. See, this is used to me, so it just came on a couple of days ago, but I've had a couple of busy days. So you've got here, quite simply, you can do futures. I guess you can do stocks as well. Here we go. So if you go on to choose asset, hit stock, go to 8 tickers, you can see, like I said, literally just like I said, 50-50-ish kind of split between the day, just because that's what we see in the price action on the charts here. We opened here. We're kind of at this kind of point now. And it looks like we're just kind of dropping into the close, which looks fairly plausible just because of this trend line that we've got. That's very clearly in place and now broken. So you would expect this to come down to at least here. But we're not using that. We're not trading that because we're using Edgefall data for that, of which we are not today because it hasn't played to my entries. Okay, so let's go to the power hour breakout report then. Let's continue talking about that. So we can see here, obviously, on the what's in place screener. Don't be confused by which one. This is actually the screener. The what's in place is slightly different. It brings up the details of each asset in a little bit more detail, which is really good, of course. They both have their benefits. Both tabs, I mean, have their benefits of which one is good. But of course, you can see on screen here, obviously, Apple is the only one that's bearish. The rest of them are all bullish. And that's SPY, QQQ, and basically the Mag 7, which I'm missing one, I think. Google, I'm missing Google. I switched that out. I can do 9, right? Yeah, okay, there you go. 9 tickers. Google is also bearish. There you go. So we've got 2 bearish. So it's a bit more balanced now. Right in the middle there. So typically on these days, it's quite hard to trade just because of the choppy nature of that. So straight away, you can come on here in the morning or in the afternoon if you're out and about, and you can see straight away what the bias is. So, for example, tomorrow is a Friday. We might get a little bit of bullish action hypothetically, and then you might see this bullish bar come all the way up to here, kind of 80%, 90%, and kind of a nice ride into the weekend. And the trend is your friend, that kind of thing. But what you can see also here, you've got some templates and screener 1, screener 2. This is basically what you see on the screen here. So you've got the gap fill data, which is screener 1, which is really helpful because then you can see what happened on the day when we opened up. So Apple gapped up, and then all of these guys gapped down. But of course, you're looking for them to fill. And you can see the percentage of the fill. So this one had 100% fill. So when it gapped down, when it gapped up, it came all the way back down so that could fill that gap. But the gap size is also a big contender of this. That's 0.19%. So hopefully you can kind of catch what I'm getting there. So the biggest gap, should we say, so you can actually order these by the looks of it maybe. No, never mind. So the biggest gap on here is Tesla at 0.57%. As you probably expect, it's a bit more volatile than the other ones. So you take that data, and it's 100% gap fill. So if you click on Tesla, it'll bring up then the gap fill data. And of course, I've currently got this set at 50% fill. So what that means is the gap size is 0.57, from the open, but I would be looking at around 27%. Is that good maths? No, it's not. Maybe 28.5%. There you go. 28.5%, 0.28.5% is that 50% fill. Anyway, I'm probably confusing you slightly. What I'm going to do is switch that to 100%. And what this means is when the gap size is at 0.57%, 60% of the time, that has come back down to fill the gap. Okay, so let's have a look at that on the chart. Go to Tesla here. And then we'll get rid of all of these. In fact, I should be on a different one. Edgefield Day, here we go. Okay, I don't know what that was about. But of course, we do have so this is just Tesla's price action throughout the day. Obviously, it starts here because it's the gap that we've had, and we've come back up and filled it. I'm guessing, yeah, it's 100%. I'm guessing it's to the wick then. It must have just tagged it. It doesn't look like it represents that in the actual chart, but it must have just tagged it because of the 100% fill, which is quite remarkable. And in that case, you could do 80% fill, for example, not just 100%. Yeah. Oh no, hang on, a SPY. Okay, right, here we go. I've got other drawings on here, so I'm trying to get rid of them. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? So we've got the data here for Tesla gap fill, and the gap down today was 0.57%. And we're looking for a fill percentage of 100%, and 60% of the time in the last 6 months, it has filled that gap. So let's have a look at it on the chart. We've got here the gap. So there's not really much of a gap, to be honest. So you've got the gap down. This is last night's price action here on the left. It's gapped all the way down to here, and it's pushed up and filled that gap pretty much straight away. So that is that representation of that data being filled. Now, what I mean by 50%, so we can change the fill percentage up here in the customize section. Go to 50% and hit save. The percentage of that will go up a lot higher. So 76% of the time in the last 6 months, that gap has been filled. We can see that on the chart. Obviously, you've got the gap here. Imagine this box that I've just drawn. 50% line is obviously here, halfway. So you only need it to come back up to this level for this data to be good, to be for you if you want to trade like that. Now, of course, it's tricky in the first kind of 15 minutes or so you can use this data. I would probably say after the first 15 minutes, just because it's quite choppy, anything can happen. I mean, you can see just this is the first 5 minutes and just absolute fire. But yeah, I mean, the gap fill one is not one I use just because obviously I work during the day and stuff, so it's hard to get to. The one I use is the Power Hour Breakout Report, and we'll have a look at that now. Oh, we are dropping into the close. And do you know what? Let's use the information for the power hour breakout report with Tesla. You know, why not? Actually, no, let's do it with NVIDIA, because I've tagged Tesla and NVIDIA in the title to this, so it makes sense that I have a look at NVIDIA too. Yes, good idea. Right. This one's actually a little bit better in terms of probability-wise. So what we're looking for going into power hour for the power hour breakout report is quite simple. We're looking for the price action to be around the lows of the day or around the highs of the day. In the case of today, we've got them around the lows of the day. Now, I won't be taking the trade because it's just a bit too close to the close. That's the trouble with this data. You do have to kind of scalp it, essentially. So let's have a look at the data for NVIDIA. First of all, we're going to hit power hour breakout report over here on the right side. And then we're going to go to NVIDIA, which is down here. So you've got a bookmark section here and a watch list section here, which of course you can just keep adding to over time. You can also take them away as well. But for now, we'll keep them like this, of course. So we touch on NVIDIA and power hour breakout report. And you can see the probability of them making new highs or lows on the day in the last hour is always very low. In this case, the data, someone's sneezing. Don't know if you can hear that or not. Today we can see that obviously the new low of day made is 12.9%. So very low percentage. So we're looking at 12.9% below this line. So it's basically going to stay above this line. And if it does break down below that in the next 12 minutes, then of course that will then push this data up to something like 13.2%. I'm just going to close that window a bit. Somehow. Sorry about that. Where was I? So yeah, we're looking at the data coming down here. So ideally, the price action would be around these lows here. So then you would take the trade to the upside. Hypothetically, if the price action was here, you'd enter around this level because that's kind of the low of day area and also the pivot point for the orb. And then your stop loss would be just below the low of day because obviously that's where the data lies. In terms of price targets, you'd be looking at the high of day, which is a 7-to-1 ratio in the last hour. Probably not likely. So what I would do is these lines you see on the screen here is the initial balance breakout indicator. And the indicators you can get for free, obviously once you sign up for Edgeful, and there's loads of them. They're really good indicators. You can kind of favorite which ones you like I have on the screen, and obviously use them to your will, should we say. So initial balance breakout, tap on the settings of that here on the left side. And of course, you go to inputs. And so this is where things get interesting. So there's retracement levels for the initial balance breakout. So initial balance breakout is this square. I'm not expecting you to follow this completely. So you will have to watch this back on my YouTube channel at SeanTrades_, and then you can kind of get it that way. Yeah, so this is the initial balance breakout. So it's the first hour of trading. So it sets these levels, and then from that, it sets these red lines as you see on the screen and the green lines. But sometimes it doesn't break out of those levels, and that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing the inside day. So we want to add middle level 1, 2, and 3, and there you go. You've got some levels to aim for. So what we're looking for is essentially a retracement back up to here, and that is a 3.5 to 1 trade. Obviously, this is not the case today because the price action is not down here. But this is what I wanted to explain. So if the price action instead came down to like down here, this is where we'll be looking to enter in the last hour to kind of go into the close. And yeah, I mean, if you entered here, you could also aim for this line coming in here, which is the middle level number 3. that also works, and that's also almost 2 to 1, which is pretty good for a scalp going into the close. But yeah, you'd probably be expecting a pretty big move up to there. I mean, you could take some off the table at this level, then move it up to here, if it was to get up there. But the important part, to kind of caveat all of this, is to, of course, close the trade before market close, because the data only goes up to the end of the day. Anyway, I've spoken quite a lot there, so let's tap on. Let's go back to the H4 platform. If I can find it, there we go. The link for this is obviously, if you're watching it on YouTube, it's down in the description, as you would normally see. But the link to sign up as well is also on my X profile. If you just tap on the Linktree link thing. So let's go back to the screener, see what's going on, because this bias will change throughout the day. Not much, especially in kind of maybe the first hour or so, kind of chop around a bit, because obviously there's less data to kind of have that percentage on. But as the day kind of goes through, maybe 4 or 5 hours into it, then you'll probably really see these bars cemented in. But it's a really good touch that they've got here, because you can kind of, if you're having a busy day, for example, and you come home from work, or you look on your lunch break or something like that, or you've just got a day off, you're just busy doing things, you can come on here on the H4 platform and think, okay, the daily bias is green. And then you can start diving into why that is, and maybe what reports might be good for you at the time. So you might be looking at different reports, like, let's have a look. So this is, go to reports here, which is up here on the left. And you've got all reports. That's the type of report, should I say. And you've got all reports here. So you've got opening candle continuation report, pretty good. Initial balance breakout, we spoke about that a second ago. The gap fill one. It's a tricky one to kind of play around the gap fill one, but maybe you can use it with different levels. Maybe the previous highs and lows, previous days highs and lows. Wow, I messed that one up. Yeah, if you can use that one as well. And of course, you've got lots of different ones. Outside days is quite a common one. Inside bars and engulfing candles. That's just patterns though. So there's lots of things you can use, and you can kind of use them in tandem with each other as well. One of the things I did on last week's stream, so if you go back and watch that, I actually used the power hour breakout report here and the power hour continuation report together. And I explained how I kind of made money on a trade related to those reports last Thursday. Yeah, and so with all of this, you've got, obviously, these are the reports. You can go to all the reports you want. For example, let's go to power hour breakout, which is probably my favorite one. Scroll down to the bottom, and you've got explanation video, which is done by Andre, which is CEO. And you've got the kind of chart explainer as well, so you can kind of see it visually represented on the screen for you. So here you can obviously see the price action throughout the day, enters the power hour, and then this is the high of day. So this is the likelihood of it breaking a new high. And the same on the other side, so the likelihood of it breaking a new low of day. So yeah, plenty to kind of look through. They also have, on the home section, they've just got general kind of to get started videos, really, really helpful. As you can see, I've watched them all. Kind of step-by-step guides on how to use the reports. Doesn't take too long, probably maximum 10 minutes videos wise. So you can actually see the length of video here. So 13 is the longest one, I think. 6, 8, 2, 5, 9, 6 minutes, 11 minutes for that one. Yeah, so you can really fly through it, but obviously make sure you pay attention. Yeah, no, it's a good way of doing that. So I've got itchy eye. Let's have a little general look into the market then before we end this stream tonight. Here we're on NVIDIA, kind of pushing into the close. Good to see. Let's go back to SPY. So we had that kind of negative price action kind of going into the close as we were talking earlier on in the stream. We started about half. We started about here, and it's just kind of rebounded in the same sort of area. What I do like to do is actually take those grey lines off, just because try and clear it up a little bit. What I was saying probably about 5 minutes ago when I was talking about the gap fill data, kind of going like where to put the stop loss and things like that, you can actually use the previous day's range for that. which is, as you can see on the screen, I've just selected that on the top left, that indicator, which again, as I mentioned, is free when you sign up. And you can see previous days high and previous days low. Quite simply, you can see that is the previous day's high, right on the open. And then we tumbled down yesterday, which was really fun. Tumbled down, made a low, and you can see that represented on the screen there. So you can just see a couple of targets, but maybe you can kind of aim for on your gap fills and any other report, really, not just a gap fill data report. I mean, that initial balance breakout report is the first hour of trading. Maybe after the first hour, you might be looking to head towards previous day highs. It's those kind of things you need to look out for, but it's not too difficult once you get used to the platforms, kind of what kind of times of day that you trade as well. It becomes a lot easier to kind of figure out your style. And I guess lastly, they do have algos as well, which I haven't dived into just yet. As you can see, I've not made any progress on the algos just yet, but I'm going to be looking into that because it's of interest to me because I work full time, obviously, over here in the UK. So lunchtime and that kind of stuff, I kind of have a look at the charts, but I don't trade, obviously, because it's not quite the setup I want to have. But algos, they will set up the trade for you. And yeah, it's perfect for people like me who work full time, essentially. Let's have a little general look what's kind of going on. Let's go to FTMO. Yep, SPY red, Q red. They haven't really moved for a couple of hours though. IWM doing pretty well, considering. That's just the same, and of course we've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin tumbling today a little bit. Let's switch that over to the hourly chart and go back to my swing setup. Oh, I'm in the wrong area now. You must be wondering, what is he doing? Yeah, anyway, Bitcoin losing that support at the moment. Go to the 4 hour. Yeah, not looking good at all. Ethereum was doing really well earlier. Yeah, just kind of subsequently kind of come off there. Look at that for a trend line. I'll be watching that for a break, that's for sure. If you know me, you know I like a trend line break. We've got a low here. Probably looking at a bit of support there, perhaps. If not, we're looking at that. There's a lot of support around here. Draw a line there. Yeah, so we could see a little bit of a flash down to 4156, that sort of area. Anyway, let's move on to gold. Gold's not really moved for a little while. Probably a good thing because it's kind of, wow, look at that, sideways action. Let's go back to daily. Now that's a wedge and a half, isn't it? So let's have a look at that. So draw from there to there. Thereabouts, maybe a bit longer. It's sat at the 20-minute average and the 50-minute average. Lots of resistance here at 3432, and then of course another wedge line there. So that could be one to watch in the next couple of weeks. Platinum, looking to. I don't trade these names much, or these commodities too much, but maybe I should because that's breaking out nicely. Oh, that is nice. Have a little look at that in a minute. But yeah, we'll close out the stream now. I think that's important to kind of wrap it up. What are we on? Yeah, no, let's wrap it up here. If you have enjoyed it, obviously, please do share the stream. I do appreciate it. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. So yeah, share the stream there. I haven't actually made a subscribe thing, so let's do that now. Subscribe to. I'm looking to stream more as well, so hopefully we can get that underway. There you go. On YouTube, of course. Again, that's all linked in the X profile, so you can go ahead and check that out. Yeah, sweet. appreciate all the time that you've spent watching this. Hopefully you've understood it. If you haven't, then make sure you watch it back. Yeah, I think it's time to leave. I'm really bad at closing out streams. I should probably work on that. Anyway, au revoir. Trade safe. Be careful in this market. It's a tricky one, but just take maybe size down a little bit and take your time. I think that's important to say. Cool. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.